Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Tuesday edition of the show. And Cody, looky what the cat drug in today here on a Tuesday. We have a good old-fashioned Texas USC recruiting battle for a 2026 defensive tackle.
I think you're reading that right. I think. Right? Throwback, 20 years to the last time you heard Texas USC battle?
Looky here.
but we got one, and it's coming by way of Louisiana. And the one thing you mentioned right before we got on here, we haven't talked about this guy at all. We just watched him, and we're going to talk about him. But the one thing that is interesting, and I'm not familiar with the Louisiana landscape, but one thing USC did do last year, their top-ranked prospect was Jakeem Stewart from New Orleans, Louisiana, and he was a guy that reclassified from the 26 class to 25 class. He was from Edna Carr in New Orleans. Dylan Berryman's from Monroe, Louisiana. This is the guy we're going to talk about today, defensive tackle Dylan Berryman. He went to, I want to say Ouachita? Well, OUA?
I think it's like
Owasita?
I think it's like Wahida.
Wahida?
Yeah, you know how they have all the Native American names and stuff around there. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's Wahida.
So I think that's the one thing is I'll say that USC did dip their toe into Louisiana this last cycle when they went and got Jakeem Stewart from Louisiana, and he was a high-end prospect. As far as before that, there was no Louisiana guy in the 2024 class, and Jakeem Stewart was the only guy in the 2025 class for USC. So I'll start with this first off. My first thoughts from this kid, Dylan Berryman. Like I said, from Monroe, Louisiana. He's listed 6'2", 294 on Rivals. He's listed 6'1" and some change, 305 on other sites. To me, I'll first off say he looks bigger than that. And secondly, between USC and Texas, I know he released the top 10, but he told Jason that his top 2 was USC and Texas. I feel like this is a guy that Bo Davis doesn't let out of the state if Bo Davis is still at LSU. This guy just feels like if you're at LSU, you just don't let this kid out of the state type of a player.
Yeah, well, okay, so he's 6'2". That's what he's listed as, right at 300 pounds. And whenever you watch him, it's just maniacal to see. It's funny to see because if you watch his team, what do we say? Well, Wahida is what we're going to go with for now. Somebody in the chat let us know if we're way off on that. We could be way off. But whenever you watch it, what's interesting is his one shade on his team is much bigger than he is.
Mm-hmm.
You put on the huddle and you're like, all right, let's get a look at this big boy. And all of a sudden, like the spiral comes in and it circles in on the dude next to him. And you're like, oh, okay. So it's this guy. But then you see immediately why just such a good first step, burst off the line of scrimmage. He actually has that kind of that burrowing sort of, kind of shark into the line of scrimmage quality that I'm not saying that he's like this. I'm not saying he's a Malcolm Brown or a Byron Murphy, but just the kind of on film, it's the first step, the initial burst, the way he gets through the line, the penetration through the B gap really reminds you of that. But undersized, man. I think he's bigger than what he looks like. I think he's undersized.
Really?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I think he's short, man. And I don't care if he's short. Poona Ford's short. He's 5'11".
Murphy was short.
Poona Ford just got 3 years, $30 million from the Rams. Good. We'll talk about that in a little while. But I don't care though. I think his arms look plenty long enough. Whenever he presses off, he can create space. He takes good angles to the quarterback when he gets to his depth, and he's just like an insta take. What does Rivals have? I don't understand really stars still that well, Cody. So Rivals has him as a 5.8 4 star. Is that the lowest?
I'm not sure if it's the lowest or highest. I just know it's middle. It's not the highest. I know that because I've seen 6 O's have 4 stars.
Okay. So, and
It
then if
might
you
be
look
lower.
at it, so Rivals has him as a 5.8 4-star. He has offers from Texas, from A&M, USC. Those are apparently the schools that he's sort of, highest on right now. Interestingly, it doesn't seem like LSU is too far into it right now, but he has an offer from them as well. Ole Miss, Miami, Missouri, just basically he has offers from the SEC, Auburn, um, he has TCU in here, Vandy, and then just a smattering of others, like including Oregon and stuff like this. I mean, highly recruited player. If you look at Rivals has him at 6'2", 294. 24/7 has him at 6'1.5", 305. So they have him at even shorter than 6'2". I don't think it matters, dude. You look at like the Grady Jarretts of the world. Look at Aaron Donald. I'm not saying he is one of these guys, but he's got that explosive package, that burst. If you just watch his huddle, I kind of just have it up in the background right now, and as you're watching it, I love the way that the way he's coiled into his stance, the way he gets back into his stance, coils up his body like some kind of anaconda, and just comes out of it with his hips thrusting forward, creating just really really good. He's got a really, really good punch to create space between him and the offensive lineman and diagnose. B gap penetrator who can hold up against the run and play. I think he's a penetrator, but he can also, like I'm watching this rep, man, he just kind of holds up like a stump, can shed, can get off, can get his body across with, get his body across with good form on the form tackle here, head across the bow. Just I don't know what's not to like. And to think that it's just down right now that Texas and USC are both at the very top. I don't understand. I don't see how this couldn't be how this isn't just like a massive priority. He needs to be somebody that Texas continues to go after. I would encourage you guys to go watch the huddle and just kind of see for yourself. This is an exciting prospect.
I think he's I think you explained it well in the coiled up version. I just wrote flexibility. I liked his feet. I liked his lower body
Yes.
musculature where he doesn't have these cankles. He doesn't have tight knees. He's lined up at fullback. He actually was in motion on a play, came across the formation on offense and lined up in like a motion fullback, was a lead blocker. In the open field, you can see him move well. The way I kind of think about it is like when a bigger guy has skinnier calves, it's more of like runner legs than it is like a worry for me. It's good. It means he's more of an athlete to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that part of him. I think you said, you think he's a good penetrator. I know he's a good penetrator when you watch him. I mean, the guy has, I know he's at the high school level, and I know he's playing against guys that look like they're between 240 and 260 pounds and not 320 pounds. But he utilized a rip, utilized a swim. He's obviously a bull rusher, and he played in the run game. So a lot of different ways he can win and a lot of different ways he did win. Even if you just watch the first minute of that tape, I think the first 4 plays he exhibited a rip, a swim, a bull rush, and a run stop. Like that was very impressive to me off the top. And I guess I was really just, maybe the biggest takeaway was the offensive play, which I think comes at like 220 or 230 in the huddle from this past season. When he motions across the formation on offense into a fullback set, and then is the lead blocker in motion. They snap it at the motion, and he just lead blocks into a guy, and they score a touchdown on the play. And I think this kid's 100% a take. Maybe it's the angle at which the film is, but he looks bigger than what he's listed at. Like he's a very well put together guy.
Yeah, yeah. The one, if he really is, whenever I see Rivals has him at 6'2", and then I see the 24/7 has him at 6'1.5".
Well, that's the turn time corollary. So
I tend to think he's probably. I think 6'2" is probably the max.
Well, I mean, what was a turn time corollary, right? Rivals has him at 6'4", 247 has him at 6'3.5", and in reality, sounds like he's probably 6'3". So
Yeah. So, but like I don't worry about it. I think his arms look plenty long enough. Like he looks like a really good player, and it's just I think that when you just look at the young depth that Texas has at defensive line right now, they don't really have one that looks like him. They really don't. They, just if you think about Sharma, he's just a massive, massive human being. Probably has 30 pounds on this guy, 40 pounds on this guy. Myron Charles is what's Myron Charles? He's like 6'5", right?
I don't know if you can see the screen right now, but I popped up the screen from their dinner the other night, and you can see the names attached to the players on the defensive line.
Yeah. He doesn't look much like any of those. God, look at Travis Shaw in that photo.
Maybe Brevard a little bit.
Yeah, but I think Brevard's taller though.
That's a good point.
Brevard's taller. Travis, gosh, look at Sharma in that thing. Hero Canoe's taller than I thought he was going to be.
He is. He's a little bit leaner too, to be honest.
Yeah, it's an interesting looking fellow with that long hair. I didn't.
Right. I was like, wait, is that? It is.
Looks like He-Man. Looks like He-Man or something. Can you put that photo back up?
Yeah.
Because all right, so
Sharma looks better than I expected.
He looks yoked, man. Look at his quads.
Yeah.
Shaw, I think, is the one that's just you run into all those guys in the dark alley. I think that Shaw's the one you're most scared of, right?
Who looks like the 5-star defensive tackle? I know Terry's in the picture, but Terry's also at a terrible angle to show off his size. But Shaw is like blatantly like, yeah, that's the 5-star right there.
Justice Terry's wearing Crocs with socks. My son does that. I could tell him that 5-star defensive tackles do that too, and maybe he's not as big a geek as I always tell him. All right. So anyway, Berryman, awesome, right? Just a awesome prospect, and we didn't compare him to Melvin Hill. What is Melvin Hill's height?
6'3", 277 coming out of high school for Melvin Hills.
Maybe that's the kind of the closest as far as.
And Brevard was 6'3", 305. So yeah, I mean, I was off on that as well.
Brevard looks bigger than this guy, but we'll see. Maybe if he was standing right next to him, he would just look as big as them. For some reason, I think he's a little bit shorter, but awesome burst, explosive package, stick of dynamite. Go get him. If it's down to Texas and USC, I mean, Sark was saying at the press conference yesterday that they're really hoping that was Alan Clark he was talking about this from Baton Rouge. He's really hoping he's going to help them with. He just said every single one of these hires that we made was made with intentionality. Chad Scott, not only Georgia but also Florida. I think that was Alan Clark. Let me pull it up and just make sure that he mentioned Clark in regards to that. Make sure I'm not mixing up with somebody else. So yesterday is the press conference. Clark. Not Christian Clark, but Alan Clark is from Baton Rouge. So I'd imagine that they're going to sick that guy on him. I don't know.
That would be the logical choice, right?
What did you say? And you were saying USC. Who did they get out of? They got somebody out of Louisiana last year.
Stewart,
and he's good.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go on record to say I think he's a bust, but I don't think he's as good as they ranked him.
Okay,
so. No. But he was a 6.15 star in the 26 class that reclassified. He was the number 1 player in the country for the 26 class.
Anything else? Anything else on Berryman? Besides it being cool, we have a good old fashioned look what the cat drug in.
Good old fashioned
USC face off for a stud defensive tackle.
Good old fashioned true blue blood off.
Yeah. So it's always a blue blood off with Texas because they're always having to go against OU too, right?
Hey, you called OU a blue blood, not me.
Hey, well, I mean, I think OU is generally.
So if they're a blue blood, does that mean that you can, we should write them off then for the next decade?
write them off for the next decade? Well, I mean, dude, Oklahoma's out to sea right now. We've talked about this.
But I mean, I did my behind enemy lines last night or this morning, I should say, and I did it completely on Oklahoma because Oklahoma's site was filled with information that came out yesterday, and the night before, and the responses I've gotten on my post so far are, don't care about USC, don't care, or what did I say? USC? I meant OU. Don't care about OU. Good
They're
stuff.
irrelevant. They're just our biggest rival.
OU fumbled this. Um, don't care. They're on a downward spiral. Contact their targets. I'm not worried about OU in the least. Like all this stuff, right? And I responded to one of the guys that said, he said, I'm not worried about OU in the least. That program's in a downward spiral. I hope they win 8 games so it makes firing vegetables harder. They called them vegetables. And the question is, where will Fasusi's mother want him to go after OU turns over its entire staff when Brett is eventually fired? I'll guess Aggie. That was a post response to my post, right? And I just said, I think the downward trajectory is no more. Like if you really sit back, take a 5,000-foot view, not 10,000, but 5,000-foot view, and diagnose their offseason for what it was. Yes, they lost a lot of players to the portal. They lost a lot of players to the draft. Burks is returning. Arbuckle, Mateer, Nagy, and Fasusi. I think it's a tick up. I think they got a little bit of a tick. I think they got out of
They lost the heartbeat of the defense.
At the end of last year, they hit the bottom, and that's like, pink, like this, right?
Yeah, but they're still OU's still swirling the drain. They're probably going to win 6 games next year. Have you seen their schedule?
I don't think you're wrong. But what I'm saying is I think that it bottomed out, and I think you went tink, and it just peeked its head right back up a little bit. And I feel weird always like continuing to be the one that is like, watch out. Like, but I feel like it just needs to be said because they're just not gonna disappear.
Well, they're not going to roll over and die, but they're in a bad spot right now.
Texas was in a bad spot too at one point, and
this was a bad spot for almost 2 decades, for a decade and a half.
And that was pre-NIL, and that was pre-transfer portal. And I think in the NIL era and the transfer portal era, I think it's a lot harder for blue bloods to die. I think it's a lot harder for a program like OU to suck. It's a lot harder for
bad coaching hires, Cody. I've seen it, man. But Venables was a bad coaching hire, the same way that Charlie Strong was a bad hire. I can't believe that. But I didn't think Herman was going to be a bad hire, but he was a bad hire. Like you get these bad coaching hires that can't put it together and can't figure out how to, it's like, oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot what the old AD's name was, the one before DeLoss Dodds. He would always talk about him and Mac Brown talking about, man, you got to get all the BBs in the box. You got to get everybody aligned, and you can't just talk about it the way that Herman did. You gotta
be about that action, boss.
Yeah, man. And you gotta really, there's a lot of stakeholders, man. There's a lot of stuff to be done. Now it's even more different. A bad hire can set you back, man. It'll set you back half a decade. And Venables at this point is looking like a bad hire.
100%. But it's already been, it's been 3 years already, right? And this will be the 4th year of being down there. So the following year's your 5th year. That's your half decade. And if he's gone, what I'm saying is I feel like we've hit the bottom of the Oklahoma thing. I don't think they're going to win 4 games. Like I think that they're probably a 6-win team again, maybe a 7-win team, depending. Like we've seen with Diego Pavia last year at Vanderbilt, what a competent or electric, able quarterback can do in college. And in the history of the sport, you've been able to see what these kind of underdog, undersized, underlooked quarterbacks have been able to do. Especially, how many times have we heard like, oh, Bailey Zappi and his offensive coordinator came from Boondock State to Western Kentucky, and then Bailey Zappi sets all the records.
Don't call it Boondock State, man. Wasn't that Houston Baptist?
There you go. I couldn't. Yeah. It wasn't there. Yeah. And then you got Pavia, and I think there was another one the year before that. It's like if I told you that Oklahoma won 8 games next year, you wouldn't be shocked. You'd be like, well, that's pretty.
I would be shocked.
You'd be shocked.
Yes. Find me 8 wins here.
All right. I would be shocked if they won.
Find me 8 wins. Find me 8 wins. Illinois State at Norman.
Win.
Michigan at Norman.
You're gonna paint me. You're gonna paint me to be Oklahoma. Okay, win against Illinois. Oklahoma loss.
Temple in Philly.
Sorry, I meant Michigan loss. Temple win.
Okay, so we're 2 wins. Auburn, Jackson Arnold comes back to Norman.
Jackson Arnold back in Norman. I think Venables knows him as good as anybody. I think that's a tight game, but I think Oklahoma wins.
3 wins. Kent State at Norman. 4 wins.
Win.
So we're 4. Okay, and I think they do have 4 wins, right?
4-1.
It's either 3 or we're either 4-1 or 3-2. If we're being completely, if we're just if
we're also penciling in a Michigan win, and I'll be honest with you, I do think Michigan wins that game, but they lost a lot of players the last 2 years. All their offensive line the year before, a lot of defenders this year. Like, I don't think the Michigan wins as much of a layup as we're making it out to be, but I do think Michigan wins.
In their first 5 games, where 3 of them are layups.
Yep.
Is it more likely that they go 5-0 or 3-2? 3-2.
Correct.
Okay.
Probably yes.
Yes. Okay, so we'll just say 4 wins if we're just trying to find them.
4-1.
Cotton Bowl, Texas
blowout loss.
They have to go to Shane Beamer.
They lose by 21.
They get Ole Miss at Norman.
They probably make it a night game, so it's close, but they lose 4-4.
Tennessee at Rocky Top.
4-5.
Alabama at Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, they're losing that one.
Missouri at home.
I'll give them the dub.
Okay, so they're 5 wins. LSU at home.
Donkeyed.
They're winning 5 games.
Yeah.
And Venables is losing the job.
Yeah, when we got to the Ole Miss one, we got through that, I go, I think I can tell myself a story if we get to the end here with 7, and I could come back to the Ole Miss one, and then I look down and I go, oh, Tennessee, Bama, LSU. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they won 8 games. I'll take that back.
Yeah, they're not.
Would I be shocked if they upset 1 or 2 of those teams though in totality? No, I wouldn't be surprised if they upset potentially 1 or 2 of those teams.
Well, do you know what would be surprising? Is if somebody walked into Texas Beef Traders and didn't walk out of there completely satisfied, right? With the food, with the hospitality, with just the general level of customer service you get there. You get 10% off at Texas Beef Traders. Anytime you go in, just tell them you heard about them on Football with Friends. You can ask Money B about it, man. Ask Money B what it's like going up there and hanging out with Darren. I'm not even sure that some of the things that go on there at Texas Beef Trade, I'm not even going to say it. But
they're amazing. They're amazing.
I'll just say anything you could ever want. It's like Darren just has it there. You know what I mean? And he's going to make it a great experience for you. He's going to cook you up whether you want some steaks, what do you want? A Wagyu hot dog? You want a duck fat burger? Whatever it is, dude. Like, he's going to have something cooking up in the back. He's going to want you to try it. He's going to taste some wine, some sangria. He might even have some other kind of things he's pouring up there in the back, some secret recipes. Just go in and grab a beer, man. Just go in there, talk to Darren, see what's up. Find out about the different ranches where you get all this delicious beef from. It's good, clean protein at Texas Beef Traders right there in Lakeway, off of Loman's Crossing in 620. I'd also say if you find yourself on 620 and you're in traffic at 5 p.m., just go stop in there. It's better than stopping at the bar. You're going to get better food. You're going to get the free drinks. It's like, you're going to have a great experience, and you're probably going to go home with some elite cuts of meat for you and your family. Because once you hear about it, once you taste it, you're not going to want anything else. There you go. Money B is going to throw in a ribeye that he got with him and his lovely bride there the other day on Saturday, right after the show. I'm eating Texas Beef Traders after the show.
Same. I was going to just tell you, I have not had the Piedmontese beef yet. The Piedmontese ground beef is in the oven right now.
In the oven? What are you cooking?
Piedmontese beef stuffed peppers.
Oh gosh.
So it's what I got. I put it in right before. I think my wife literally just swapped it out. 30 minutes covered, 10 minutes not. Piedmontese ground beef inside of some bell peppers. but it's mixed with onion, garlic. I got cauliflower rice, tomato, and it's topped with cheese. And I got a little cheese inside of it too. But we put it in the oven. First time ever trying Piedmontese ground beef. I'll report back tomorrow.
It's the beefiest beef you've ever tasted, but it's got less like cholesterol and less fat in it than 95% lean ground turkey. It's just it's just the most wild thing you can. Just wait till you taste it, man. It's an unbelievable product. And you get all that at Texas Beef Traders. So make sure and check them out. We'll have more beef jerky for you guys tomorrow is when it comes in. Texas Beef Traders, texasbeeftraders.com. Thanks so much to them for being a great sponsor. Couple of topics, man, I wanted to get to today. Anything else in Oklahoma from behind enemy lines?
They did have, I think we talked about the number 13 overall prospect in the country, or number 11 overall prospect in the country yesterday. Kind of the same notes there. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. This is from behind the enemy lines. I didn't put it in today's notes, but because it came in my column, they released their spring schedule. Oklahoma did. And for this kind of caught me off guard. I was like, what does that mean? It's called the Crimson Combine. They're not having a spring game. They're having a Crimson Combine. If I say that to you, what is your first thoughts? No spring game. We're having a Crimson Combine. What does that mean?
They're going to get together and they're going to do a bunch of races and shuttles and jumps.
Okay, my first thought was they're not really going to have a combine, are they? Are they going to like maybe have like a corn feed or something? And I was like, wait, it's not the fall. You can't combine corn in the spring, obviously. So I look it up and they're going to have this Crimson Combine.
You're talking about ranch, your farm stuff?
Yeah, corn.
What is a combine again? I know that my grandfather would have known. I've never.
A combine is the machine that harvests corn, beans, wheat, etc.
Do you have to use that for maize?
Maize is corn.
I think maize is like it's the stuff that makes. It's like the stuff that you can make tortillas and stuff out of. I think it's kind of like corn.
Yeah, well then, yeah. If it's corn, yes. I don't know. Where I grew up, we used soybeans and corn, and we used a combine. If it's like corn, I think that's what maize is.
I feel like so a corn maize is a corn maize. So that's a maize cut into a cornfield. What is maize?
Maize, also known as corn in North America, is a tall, stout grass that produces cereal grains. So maize is just another word for corn. That's what I thought. I was confused by your question. Anyway, that was where my brain kind of went. I was like, there's no way they're going to have a real combine. So I wonder if they're going to have like a corn feed or something, like an event. That's something that we would have in the Midwest. But then I realized it's April and not October. You can't harvest corn in April. So the event will feature Oklahoma players and coaching staff members participating in combine-style drills, skills challenges, on-field fan engagement activities, autographs, and photo opportunities, as well as speaking from a number of front office personnel. That's their spring event to close out their camp.
Sounds crappy to me.
Sounds lame as hell. Why would I want to watch? What you and me would want to go watch a combine?
It's all the worst of a spring football practice mixed with all the worst of the pro football Pro Bowl skills challenge.
Literally,
both things that I just, it's like I've always said that I think spring games are boring. I was saying on Football with Friends Day, I would rather watch a practice. I take more away from a practice. So it's like, to me, it's like, but somebody asked in the chat, it's like, which would you rather watch, like a spring game or the NFL Pro Bowl skills challenge? And I'm like, well, I'd rather watch a spring game because there's nothing worse than the skills challenge.
Yeah,
just nothing. Brutal. And it sounds like this is like a skills challenge.
Yes, that's what I took away.
Boring
from that. So that's the fan event. Other note was Oklahoma hosted a trio of Longhorn targets on Monday, so literally yesterday. The main one that popped off, there's two guys from 2027. I'll mention their names, but the main one is from 2026 is Talanoa Ili, the linebacker from Hawaii.
Who's good.
Jason wrote about last week. He reported that Texas kind of has like an inside track because Johnny Nanson's been recruiting him for a few years, and he's the cousin of Brandon Baker. He was at Oklahoma on Monday, and they wrote on OU Insider, they said the Hawaii prospect has liked the Sooners for a bit now, but getting the Rivals 100 linebacker to travel so far for an unofficial visit is a big plus for the Sooners' pursuit of Illy. I can verify that Coach Drelling and Coach Goodwin, two defensive coordinators, prior defensive coordinators, now they're just like assistants and position coaches and whatever, are two of the most energetic and best personalities you'll see on the staff. That was the analysis from the OU insiders. But he was there for a Monday unofficial visit. And then the other two were Brian Swanson, who is the number 9 overall offensive tackle in the 2027 class. He's from South Oak Cliff in Dallas. He was there, as was Zane Rowe, the edge rusher from Denton Guyer, who formerly was committed to Oklahoma and decommitted and has said basically he's picking essentially between Oklahoma, Texas A&M kind of situation. He was also there the same day. So those were the 3 guys that visited on Monday for Oklahoma.
Not worried about Oklahoma, man. Just not worried about them yet. Like you said, man, they're just now getting the kind of dead cat bounce out of this whole thing. So
dead cat, that's the word. See, that's where I was like, they're down here. That's boop, boop, like that little boop. Dead cat bounce. That was the word I was.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like what is your wife would probably know the name of that. What are those machines wherever you flatline, but then you're like, oh my God, look, he's like tick tick. He's like whatever that thing is. Your wife probably knows the name of that thing. The thing that measures your vitals. He's asking her right now.
It's the machine.
All right. Well, let's get to the next topic here. So I wanted to ask you about this one. Stuart Mandel today in his mailbag, he said he's not ready to predict any SEC team to the CFP in 2025 except Texas.
That seems wrong, but I get it.
Dude, they're going to be 4 SEC teams in the CFP.
Texas, LSU, South Carolina,
Georgia.
Yeah, that's your words, not mine, but that's your words.
Well, I'm not sure that I'd say South. I would think. What do we think about Alabama's quarterback situation?
Keelan Russell put on, I think, 13 pounds between arriving.
Aren't they gonna have to play Keelan? It's gonna be just like Lagway.
Yeah, but it might be a little bit of a stressful early part of the season. You think Keelan Russell's just gonna walk in there and just drop it on the table and just say, "Look at this"?
Keelan's good, man.
What are you gonna do about it? Trust me, I know. I've literally seen the guy in person, and when Juju Lewis was ranked number 1 quarterback in the country, I was like, I'm watching Tavian St. Clair from Ohio State and Keelan Russell committed to Bama. These are the 2 top kids in the country, and that's where they ended up. Like, they're both phenomenal ball spinners, and I mean, you don't got to convince me on Keelan Russell. My question is what should our expectation be for the season for an Alabama, because he's a freshman. So their schedule honestly is not that bad. They open up with Florida State, which is what it is. We'll see what Florida State looks like. They go to Georgia. They have Tennessee at home. They have LSU at home. To South Carolina.
How do they start the season?
At Florida State, home against Monroe, home against Wisconsin, bye week at Athens. Oh. That's a big bye week for a young quarterback. If they can go 3-0 those first 3, which I think you expect, that's a massive bye week going into Athens.
I can't wait to hear the reports from spring practices about Keelan from there.
Well, they started practice about a week ago, and what's that girl's name that's always in the SEC calls? Mary
Beth McWhorter from the First Read or something.
McWhorter, yeah. So she does a great job covering like Alabama and Auburn, and I follow her on Twitter, and she was there and the first day, and I think they said he gained 13 pounds. I want to say it was 12 or 13 pounds between arrival and first day of camp, which puts him at like 190. Hell, was it 197?
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a lot better than 185.
He can spin it, man. I mean, he's going to play. He's going to have to play, dude. I don't know. We'll see. I did see that. I'll ask you about this in a little while about Kalen DeBoer and his ranking on Bruce Feldman's list. I would say, dude, I think Texas is going to be in. I really think LSU is going to be in. The rest, though, is just like who's going to make it through the meat grinder.
I think,
is Gunnar Stockton really good?
I don't know, dude. I mean, I thought last year the Georgia thing was going to fall through. I think we talked about that early in the year. I was like, I would not be surprised if Georgia was 8-4, and they obviously didn't go 8-4, but I don't think that they were nearly. If you would have said, like, from a roster construction standpoint and from like a dominance standpoint, like you always knew like the Bama teams, how they were built and where they were strong. And then the Georgia teams, the real Georgia teams, that Georgia team last year didn't compare to those historic teams. And I think we saw that. And I just wonder if that takes another step back this year.
Yeah. All right. Fair. Wanted to ask you this. Just speaking.
What were your thoughts though on the like what teams you thought? 4 teams. So were we in agreement on LSU and South Carolina?
Or I think South Carolina's in the. I think it's Texas and LSU, and I think that the meat grinder is going to decide the rest.
I agree.
If Florida's schedule wasn't so hard, I think that they could be in a contention. I gotta think that we gotta give South Carolina some kind of credit.
I agree.
We gotta give them some kind of credit. They're bringing back is their best defensive player that they lost Kennard, and he's not as good as Stewart.
Yep.
Right.
And they lost Eamon Worry.
Oh, Eamon Worry.
Yep.
And he's looking like a more and more of a big loss the more every time he steps on a football field to do a test.
Listen, like we are talking about Tennessee. I know Ole Miss loses got a lot of guys, but Tennessee, like
Dylan Sampson, James Pierce. I mean, it's like they lose some guys for sure.
But they got their quarterback. Like that's the big. That's the. I know. I don't. The Nico heat is definitely cooled off, but he's still good enough quarterback to keep these guys in this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, they're
conversation, I should say.
They're right there in the mix, right? Ole Miss, I mean,
College Station.
What
about the team in College Station?
Nah, I don't know. The old fat man. We'll see. We'll see what the old fat.
That was a hell of an interview, wasn't it?
The old fat man. Man, Elko just does it. He does the old fat. The old fat man. You're talking about the interview that he did with Josh Pate on the Pate State Speaker Series, dude.
Sorry, I just keep I was like, you're gonna get clipped.
I do. I think that Rhett Lashley had just a an infinitely more interesting interview with that guy.
Oh, slightly.
Than Elko. Elko's. It's just I don't know, man. I think he's a good. Obviously, he's a good coach, but
he's spent what his last 8 years coaching, or maybe 10 years coaching at Duke and at A&M. Like those aren't exactly like schools you'd expect a guy with a personality to come out and do an interview with,
Yeah, he obviously knows his stuff, and I think what he did at A&M this year was better. It was turned out better than I expected, especially given the turmoil at the quarterback position and the fact that he had these defensive studs that look like absolute, these total Tarzan players that their production was a little more like kind of Jane.
Nothing.
Hey, but speaking of LSU, let me ask you this: where would you have Harold Perkins Jr. ranked right now in the 2025 NFL Draft? And I was reading earlier today with LSU spring practices starting up. Now he's not taking part in spring practices, so when you rank him for 2025, you have to consider the fact that he's not going to be cleared until what would be.
So we're taking ACL into account.
You have to.
For you, where you would have him ranked. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not talking healthy Harold Perkins.
No. Because I'm trying to figure out they have this, and is it smart for him to move to star? Because they're moving him to star. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Did you? I think we talked about.
What does star mean in that LSU defense?
Okay, so for them, I mean, I think star for everybody means like a linebacker sort of safety hybrid, but I think with Texas, it specifically is more nickel corner-ish. But a nickel corner is kind of a linebacker safety hybrid. You occupy the same area of the field that a linebacker safety hybrid or a dime linebacker or something would occupy.
So, okay, I'm just reading this now. Okay, so that's right. That worries me more, to be honest with you, because it kind of feels like you're taking his superpower away.
Well, but is he a little bit too small to be able to be on the field at all times for us? And I'm assuming that the
100%.
superpower is rushing the passer.
100%. He's too small to be on the field every down, but um that's your game though. That's your trait, that's your projection. I assume that means he's probably still, and that probably means he's going to lose some weight, to be honest with you. So the site still has him listed at 225 at LSU right now. Man, I don't even know where I would, to be honest. I'm not even lying to you right now. I don't even know. It would probably be some type of like, it would probably be some type of like not day three, sorry, mid round three type of
Yeah, I
situation.
was thinking the same thing too.
You know, because I I I
I was
I
thinking
know the
top
trait,
top 100 for sure, but I'm not sure
and
where.
and I struggled to tell myself that like, oh yeah, he could be a linebacker for me and something that I could depend on. And now you bring up like the star thing of like moving him back even more. It's like, well, I haven't seen him prove that he can even like, play deep in the box and come down and be like a missile or something like a like
Mhm.
a, like a Makuba, right? At 185 pounds. Like we haven't, if this guy loses 20 pounds, he could be a whole different player, I guess. But we know he can hit, but I don't know if he can hit from depth and attack and has vision and all these different things that, yeah,
So
with an
so my
ACL as well. Yeah, I think you're, yeah,
well, but
pretty sure.
all right. So my whole line of thinking with this, and we're such crazy individuals that this is our job to create content and think about this stuff. But as I'm thinking about stuff that I'm thinking about or want to talk about, I'm like, is what if he comes back healthy next year and plays star? And it's another thing where it's like, well, it's kind of like it was. Um,
Some Tyrann Mathieu type stuff.
it's kind of like it's been where it's like once again LSU screws up a way to use Harold Perkins Jr. and it's like nobody knows what to do with him, and LSU couldn't even figure it out, and so now it's like going to be a projection for we're going to play him. So we're probably going to take him somewhere in the top 100, but we don't know exactly where he'll go there. We got Money B saying that he could be a 3-4 outside linebacker. I mean, I get it. That's kind of that's a specialty role though.
Yep.
Um, and if we're wouldn't he kind of be drafted even the same this year as he would last year if things don't go swimmingly with such a drastic move like this?
Well, the thing about, as you know, the thing about being drafted is that you go through the cycle of being like groomed over and looked at with a magnifying glass. So it's
Longitudinal,
like
right?
he's 6'1". He's actually 6'3". He's
Oh
actually
yeah,
he's actually
he's 6002 or
he's
something. Yeah,
actually 219,
yeah.
and he's got, small features and short arms,
30 and 7/8 inch arms.
and he runs some kind of cockamamie 4.6 flat, and you're like,
No, he doesn't. He doesn't run anything.
I'm telling you a story, right? I
Okay.
know he's got the ACL, but I'm telling you a story, right? I'm just saying, like last year he comes out, like in any cycle he comes out in, you find these things out, right? So if he came out the year before he tore the ACL, which I think a lot of people thought he could have because he was looked at that way, but he obviously wasn't eligible. You find out that small features, shorter than you thought, lighter than you thought, slower than you thought. Things like this happen. I'm not saying this is the truth. I'm just saying things like this come through. And the guy ends up getting drafted where the guy was always going to get drafted in most cases, I believe. Anyways. So I think anybody can see that one trait that he has. And I think it takes obviously a good eye, a good prospective eye to see a guy like Harold Perkins at the combine or at a pro day doing linebacker and safety work to say, all right, I see this guy in this role
It's
for
gonna
my
take a
defense.
coach, not a scout.
What did I say?
It's gonna take a well, I don't know if you said or if it's gonna take somebody seeing him. I think it's gonna take a coach seeing him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to take a guy that's watching him in a linebacker or a safety drill saying, I can use him in this spot. Like
Yeah.
you have, it's not a guy that you can go be like, Shamar Stewart didn't have, any output this year, but he's traitsy, so I can just draft him and he'll become something, right?
Mm-hmm.
He ain't just going to become something. He's going to be cut tomorrow because you're going to be like, well, I've literally nothing to do with this guy other than put him on special teams. If you make it, if you attack it that way.
Yeah, he's a guy you have to have a plan for, I think. And look, if I were you guys, I would be making plans to go to Specs, man. What an awesome sponsor they are.
At Specs, it doesn't cost a lot to turn a good time into a great time, especially if you like saving money. From connoisseur collectors to aficionados of ale, you'll find bubbly bliss at any budget with a Texas-sized selection of world-class wines, rare spirits, craft beers, and more. So when you're getting ready for a good time, Specs is ready to make it great. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Shop Specs, low priced, amazing. Here's to you.
Yes, it's Football with Friends here on Orange Bloods Live. We're here every night from 6 to 7 p.m. Thanks to everybody for being here, getting up to close to 600 of you guys watching between X and YouTube. So thanks to everybody for popping in the Specs chat line. Thanks so much to Specs. I'll actually be going to Specs once again here very soon to get a big bottle of Casamigos because I am getting out in the woods this weekend to start out spring break. With that being said, it's a good time to announce once again, no show Friday. We're traveling again. So we'll have a final takes Thursday this week and should get pretty much back to the normal schedule after that. But then again, with next week being spring break for the kids, there could be some, I hope there's no snafus or anything like that. I don't think that there will be. But on Friday, I am going to be getting out of here. Cody, do you know what I sent you that, dude, we're getting like where I go out and hunt. It's not like into West Texas. It's certainly like west of here though. It's west of here. And I'm already out in the hill country, right? I got to go west of here to where it's like, it's crazy. It's like, I'm going due west, but I'm heading like way close to Mexico with the way that the border kind of comes up around the Big Bend. And, it's like, so it's not like I'm going farther north, but it's like, the place where there's going to be all this wind, hurricane forced winds in Northwest Texas. The winds are going to be up to like 70 miles per hour. I don't think it'll be that bad where I'm hunting on Friday, but man, I'm not expecting to see any deer on Friday.
I know you're worried about like seeing deer and deer traveling, but like maybe I'm an idiot. I've shot guns, but I've never shot guns in 70 mile per hour winds. That has to affect the bullet.
Oh, not with the. I'm not going to take any shot at over. I won't take any shot at over like 200 yards. I don't think it'll matter. Maybe it will.
You think 200 yards though? 70 miles an hour?
Well, it's not. Well, for one, it's not getting to 70. I think where I'm going to be is people at like 35 mile per hour gusts, maybe 21 mile per hour sustained. Maybe somebody who knows about windage or whatever. And I've never adjusted a scope for windage, but I guess I've never had to shoot. And look, if it's that windy, they're not going to be out. They're going to be holed up, right? But maybe it'll blow the smell of alfalfa everywhere. So maybe Saturday or Monday will be will be better, or Saturday or Sunday. Money B's asking I'm going to be at pro day. Yeah. Sure.
Can I tell you something, Alex?
Yeah.
This is your fault why I'm bringing this up. I asked one person that might know, if I shot a rifle 200 yards and there's a 70 mile per hour crosswind, will it affect the trajectory? I asked one person this, and they told me yes, it will significantly affect the trajectory of a rifle bullet fired over 200 yards. And
by inches or feet?
For a 70 mile per hour crosswind at 200 yards, at 100 yards drift, 70 miles per hour times half to 1 inch equals 35 to 70 inches. That does not seem right.
It says not 3 feet off it.
Drift equals wind speed in mile per hour times distance in 100 yards times constant based on bullet type. There's a whole estimation.
Ask about a 6.5 Creedmoor.
It says your bullet. Their conclusion is your bullet could deviate between 5 and 12 feet. which I think is a little.
It's not.
I was thinking more like
I'm not shooting it in a hurricane, Cody. But they're saying in Northwest Texas it's going to be hurricane force winds. It's just going to be real windy where I'm at. It's going to be fine. I'm not going to shoot it. I'm not going to shoot a deer in the rear.
You gotta get some weighted bullets or something.
Shoot that poor thing in the tail. Golly, this probably something I better keep in mind.
Hey, we got to talk about Poona Ford before we get out of here, because I put the note in yesterday. You put the note in today. Poona Ford, Texas alum, 3-year, $30 million.
Seems like a lot for Poona, but I think that it's interesting for the Rams. So yesterday we talked about how the Carolina Panthers got swindled out of Milton Williams by the Patriots, right? Was that what happened? Vrabel swindled them.
Yeah.
And so you see immediately what they go and do is I was like, dude, that's what they really wanted to get. They really wanted to get a defensive tackle in free agency. They're going to add more defense. The Panthers are throughout the course of the draft. But I think they're at 8. They're going to take their edge guy. I think they're going to take Jalen Walker.
You think the Patriots are?
No.
Oh, Carolina. Yeah. Carolina. That's the spot. Yeah.
And so, but then I saw, from the Rams, the Rams end up losing Bobby Brown from Texas A&M, who was a player that I was just super high on as a recruit. I saw him at a camp, and I'm like, dude, this guy's going to be a monster. It's like a really one of those pat yourself on the back calls, right? He's turned out to be really good. But Carolina goes and gets him, replaces him with Poona. I think it's fine, and I think it's good for the Rams. They have I can't think of all their names right. Was it Kobe Bryant's one of them? They have a bunch of these guys along their defensive line they've drafted really well that are young, and I think Poona is just such a hardworking lunch pail type of guy that I think he fits the Les Snead, Sean McVay culture. They like the Jordan Whittingtons and the Cooper Kupps and the Puka Nakuas and the Kyron Williams and these guys that are team captains. It's just go to work, and I think he's going to set a good example. $30 million, I thought was definitely definitely a lot.
More than doubles his career earnings so far through 7 years.
And I mean, I'm good friends with his agent. And very happy to see that, if he earns that money, his agent's going to make $1 million off that deal. So it's good for Poona, good for Octagon, good for the Rams. And are
we going to see the Rams trade up? I mean, you just talked about all the leadership in that locker room. We're going to see the Rams trade up in the 3rd round into the 2nd for Quinn.
No. As much as I wish, man. They brought back Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would. I would love to see Quinn in McVay's. Like, that's the place where it's like, if he goes there, I'll get excited about it. I mean, like, here you go. Like, all the Quinn haters are gonna have to eat crow at some point, because he's actually gonna be good there until he gets hurt.
Think about that.
At some point, he'll be good there, especially if he has some time.
That training camp next year would be Stafford, Garoppolo, Stetson Bennett, and Quinn Ewers. Just a mishmash.
One of those guys is not like the other as far as the old handsome meter, I think. I'm not going to say which one, but okay. Yeah. So yeah, good for Poona. Good on him, man. Super proud of that guy. Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. Thanks to the nearly 600 of you watching right now, and the 10X, 20X that'll watch that over the course of the next couple of days. We can't tell you guys how much we appreciate it. So if you're watching this on a big hump day Wednesday, go out there, have a great day today. As always, we'll ask for 4 things, man. We don't ask throughout the show. We get in, we talk, we get right into football. We want to remind you to please like the show. Just all you got to do is click like. It takes 2 seconds. It's totally free. Subscribing to the channel is totally free. It really, really helps us out. What's most important is to tell a friend. If you think they'll like the show, let them know, man. Like, let them know that Alex and Cody are cool dudes, man. You'll dig the show. Put it on in the background while you're getting dinner ready. And finally, if you like the show, just come back and watch it. All right? Thank you guys so much for being here. We love you all. God bless you. Have a great, great, great Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is you're doing. We'll see you soon. All right. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.